o'clock, I call this meeting of the General Government and Public Safety Committee to order. Attendance is taken. If you'd rise with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda, we have comments from citizens.
We're actually here for credit, so
For
you want us
credit?
now, or you want us on it?
No,
Okay.
we have credit.
I'm just here. I haven't been here a long time. I'm glad to be back. I appreciate the news, all of them serving.
Great, thank you, sir.
We do too.
I'm sure you do.
Closing that section, moving on to General Government and Finance. Now Freddie's up. Economic Development. If you look in your packet, we have meeting minutes from the last credit meeting. And if our representatives would like to give any comments,
I have a few comments if you don't mind.
absolutely. If you'd introduce yourself.
I'm Lori Myers. I'm on the credit board of directors, and I brought tonight Emily Curtis, who is a new board of director for us. Emily Curtis. We have reorganized at our last meeting. We have a new president, Gabe Martinez. Mr. Wilkins is our vice president, and we're real pleased that we have two of your aldermen on our board of directors, which have really brought us some good insight, information, and those kind of things. You're going to see us focus things a little differently in the future. We're going to try to put a little more energy back into our Centralia tours. We're seeming to get people, the teachers after they've been hired. We've given some for Hubble. Housing is always an issue with Hubble people. They're just not finding the housing here that they need, and they're going to Columbia. So we'll be talking about that. We're going to talk about commercial property in town, take a look at those things, and get an overall view of what we can bring to town maybe, and what our community needs. So we're also going to be talking about marketing our community. I had a really good example of that at the Anchor Fest. One of the bands asked the crowd where to eat in Centralia, and later that night they posted they ate at Mexico, Missouri. They posted their picture in a restaurant there. So, we need to be better about promoting what we have here. And so we'll be talking about that a little more too. Also, I want you guys to recognize Donnie Rogers. He is our outgoing president, and Donnie was appointed by the school. He's been a very good board member for credit, and we'll miss his input. He was one of the original members, put in all the hours, all the work. So we will miss Donnie, but he was a really great member for us. Any questions you guys have? Okay, well, we appreciate any input you have, any suggestions, anything you would like for us to talk about or look into. We meet the fourth Tuesday of the month out at the Boone County Building out on the highway, 6 o'clock. We'd love to see you there. Then,
I regret having conflicts for the last couple of meetings. I'll try to make this one. But in July, I will bring the new city administrator and introduce him.
great. Yeah, we've been talking about that, so we're excited about him. We believe you guys have made a wonderful choice for us, and so we welcome him.
He won't have to learn the community too much.
I know.
I get it, he was around here for Anchor Festival.
Yeah, well, I look forward to meeting you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Oh, one more thing, sorry. I wanted to show you something that came out of Centralia recently. This is a new magazine that's put out by Emily's business. It's Emily and Callie downtown. You've seen their little shop. Quality magazine, designed and printed in local, all done in Centralia. So it is a marketing tool for their business, featuring seniors to promote their photography business. But it's just a quality piece, and anytime you can get something like this that's printed in Centralia, designed by great people like this, we're going to get people to town. So if you've not seen this, pick one up. It's worth seeing.
And in Richmond?
Yes, printed at Richmond. So all done local, and this is what it's about right here. I think I'm done this time.
Okay, Chamber didn't have a meeting last month in May, but we did have Anchor Fest. The attendance seemed to be down this year at Anchor Fest. However, the receipts were very, very good. It was one of our three best years, probably our second best year. Excuse me. We don't have total numbers yet, but the ticket sales were our second best year, and it looked real good on paper. So we'll see where everything else comes. The one band that everybody liked on Saturday afternoon, I think it was Newtown. They are now out of our price range. They had some little national exposure on TV, and now they are probably 2 or 3 times what we can afford. So they won't be back, unfortunately, but they were very well received. We were very fortunate to have gotten them at the time that we did. We got them just before they got their national exposure on TV. We had a contract signed with them. So.
Thank you, sir. Anything else under economic development? Moving on to park board, we have meeting minutes from our Wednesday meeting. Also included are the recreational program offerings. Any questions? Hearing none, moving on to the cemetery report.
In your supplemental packet, you have a report on collections that they did for Memorial Day. It's probably about the same as last year. It's not a major support mechanism for the cemetery, but everybody else. I guess enough people came out that the spikes came down very quickly.
Tree board.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Library board, we have meeting minutes. Looks like an agenda for the next meeting. Questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on. Any financial statements? Thank you.
I finally had a chance to look at these this afternoon, and there were at least a couple of things that didn't get into the round. They're not incorrect per se, but cleanup week was posted for some reason under protective inspection instead of under the sanitation department, because somebody was using the code number from one of the last times we did dumpsters when we were still working over here on Ellis Street. So, different.
A little housekeeping.
Yeah. So there will be probably a revised version coming up before council meeting.
Any other questions on the financial statements? Hearing none, moving on to bills over $1,250. I can already say one addition to this will be the police department server. Will be a line item that we'll have in this. But it's something the board has already. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, moving on to other general government. City Hall repairs.
Mr. Simon, with the engineering firm that is doing bidding for the roof repairs and tuck pointing and floor masonry work, was in last Thursday when I was at another meeting and couldn't hang around, and told the ladies that there was some concern about lack of bidders on the project, and he wanted to talk to me about it, and it was going to be by today. He was invited today, so maybe that has changed. Construction projects always get a lot of people interested at the last minute. It's not a particularly big project, but I would still expect that later this week we will be and there will be contracts to approve by ordinance on Monday's agenda.
Moving on to public safety, city prosecutor.
No report?
Police department, there's an activity report in your packet. Any questions?
I have a couple items.
Yes, sir.
I think we did this in the budget. I got an invoice from that Leads Online, check those pawn shop activity. $1,488, it's not due. Contract dates are 8/15 and 14, to 8/14 and 15. I don't know if we can do it tonight or needs a full council meeting, but it's over that threshold. I'd like to do that again. That's just handier than handy.
It renews in August.
Yes, 8/15 and 14. I just got that invoice and thought I'd just go ahead and bring it up. If we get approval to do it again, I'll just knock it out. For those of you that weren't on the council, Leads Online is a service, costs us about $1,500 a year, where we can check any activity at not only local pawn shops or that type of operation, but statewide, if we like. It's really handy for working stolen merchandise cases. Just see a lot of activity on there. It is of interest. See when my brother pawns his bicycle.
It's for checking pawn shops, isn't it?
Yes. But it's pretty handy. Is it expensive? I don't know, compared to what it's done for us. I just appreciate the service. $1,488 a year. We did it, first of all, when I was first here as chief, and then I didn't do it. It was $1,500 in the county. Did it, but then as their contacts with the county, as their detectives with the county that was using it, went on to do bigger and better things, then I kind of lost my contact there. It's just handy for us to be able to do that.
Basically, our alternative is for you to run to the different pawn shops, right?
Good. It gets me out of the office, but it's awful expensive.
Yes.
By statute, the pawn shops must, if Lynn Barron's pawns a watch that Jim Lee happens to be missing, the pawn shops are supposed to enter that into the database, having a photo available of the seller, regardless if he said that his name was Danny Rush. So it's handy.
How often would you see your searches in the system?
Oh, we look at it every day. You can't afford not to in my business. Every day. You never know when you see a name there. Might lead you to something next week or next month.
Format is not just what's being funded, but who.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Frequent flyers show up.
Yes, yes, sir, that's what I mean.
So it's searchable by item, by name, by location, all sorts of different ways you want to look at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are a couple of the fellows in the squadron have an alert set up on their email. Secretary address.
Do we want a motion for this meeting or?
Your choice. We've got
I
a
don't-
bunch of stuff under Public Works. We're gonna have a rich, full agenda next week, so if you want to do this now.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the purchase for the next year for the lead system, $1,488.
Before we make a second, does that need an ordinance when we actually pass it, or not?
No, it's a one-year contract.
Okay,
It's just a one-year contract. We did it last year.
I'll second that then.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very kind. I appreciate it. I have another item of note. You all know Harold Gooding. He was in to say, tell us he was awful proud of us during the Anchor Fest, and I might just say also I was proud of the police department and also the fire department, not just because Denny's sitting here, but it just seems that there's a core of us that have been here now long enough. We know the drill. It just seems to go as good as it can. There's a lot of people in town. When we have a medical or something like that, sometimes it gets labor intensive getting to it. But as to the Anchor Fest, it is what it is, and I was just awful proud of our group. Just when swimming. Harold Gooding was in, told us that. Also, we got a real nice letter from the Marshal Service, United States Marshal Service, commending Bob Bias and 2 or 3 others on an arrest that happened here in town back in April. Fellow that was doing counterfeiting, things of that nature. We scooped him right up. U.S.
Wow.
Marshal Service was nice enough to send us a nice letter with respect. So,
No financial reward.
what?
But they pay you when you counterfeit that.
Save money. Hey, speak to him in the morning, does he have to bring up much?
No, there was, at least I didn't see a check in the envelope. Other than that, I'm good. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions on the activity report? Moving on to Pets at Anchor Fest.
Yes. I will speak to this. We have had, in the past, we've had some problems with dogs and other pets. This year, in particular, we had a lot of dogs out there. And police officers, I was actually stopped by a couple of police officers out there and asked if we would do something about this. And I says, yes, we can probably do something about this. I would like to see an ordinance that no pets will be allowed, because not only were there dogs down there, but one guy decided to bring his big snake wrapped around himself, which kind of freaked a few people out down there. And so we would like to have a no pets ordinance for the park and for the streets that on which the Anchor Fest is taking place in place for next year. And in fact, we would like to go so far. I've talked to Mike and Kate about this. We'd like to do it for other events that might come up, such as the barbecue contest. So we don't want to make it specific just to Anchor Fest. We want to make it specific to certain types of activities.
Well, you forgot about the pig.
Oh, yes, there were some pot-bellied pigs too. I forgot about that. I think there was more than one.
Were there really?
Yes.
That's all lizards.
Yes, and there was a lizard. The same guy that had the snake, I think, had the lizard down there, right in his shoulder, and that also freaked some people out. So.
What are you gonna do about your barbecue if these out-of-town people have a pet and bring it with them?
That's always always the bone of contention, or not the bone,
The
but
the
that's
way
always
you
the
can do
debate.
this is, you'll just have to put it out there that no pets will be allowed. Or we can allow an exemption if they're like in a little cage or something, I don't know. But, you know, those are things that need to be looked at. Jenny and I have talked about it a little bit. There are people who bring, from out of town who do bring stuff that are part of this. We either just need to let them know, you know, just flat out there's not gonna be any, or we need to have a way of allowing it. But, you know, I look at it from a sanitation, point. We don't want dogs out there crapping all over the place and people stepping in it. You've got food out there and all kinds of other stuff. It's, the other thing is that when you've got dogs out there and you have the bigger crowds as we've had at some point, dogs can get stepped on and can snap at people. So it's not only a food issue, but it's a safety issue too. I don't know why anybody in the world would want to bring a dog down to something like Anchorfest, but I do understand the guy that's bringing the snake down, he wants to show off and wants to scare people.
You're gonna have to consider the service dog thing.
Yeah, that would automatically be exempt, we can't stop
Right,
that.
can't stop that. I think the matter needs to be addressed. How we go about that is gonna be a hill to climb.
I mean, I think
I mean,
there
I
are
can-
ways of handling it, and we need to start the process so that we can get Merritt to do some research for us and as to what's been done in other places and what can be done.
I can see at the barbecue, if they got it tied up to their tent or whatever, you know, it would be all right. But walking around with it would be a little different story.
As soon as somebody sees the first one, they're gonna be going to the police saying, why are you treating him differently from me?
Because it's tied up, he's not walking around.
Well, but these guys they're walking around with one on a leash, and so, I mean, they're technically under their control. People that were down here, they were, all the dogs were on a leash that I saw. But the police can't do anything about it because the ordinance allows them to be there. Or the ordinance doesn't prohibit them from being there, there's no ordinance. The only way to do it is to probably just prohibit it. But again, we need to look at what other people have done and see what, you know, how to handle this. We do have some time to do it, but I think we need to start looking at it.
First thing is research is in order.
Yes.
And give some thought to, if we do this kind of thing, do you restrict it to just the square and the streets adjacent to the square, which would probably help.
Well,
including sidewalks.
whatever streets there are on which even the rides are on, so even extending out beyond just the square. Anything under the control of what the Anchorfest is doing.
How about the car show?
The Anchorfest.
The car show is less of a problem, but that's something we would have to look at. Because they're on streets that aren't directly under the control of everything else. But it, you know, it could be included, it could be excluded,
I think you ought to include it
That-
myself.
I tend to agree with Alderman Magley as with respect to the car show and the animals. That's gonna be splitting hairs.
That's the biggest problem with trying to do
That's
it.
gonna be splitting hairs trying to,
I'd say no pet, you put in there no pets from whatever Anchorfest is to the last day of Anchorfest.
till 6 p.m.
Yeah,
Sunday evening,
yeah.
period.
Actually, I'd like it a little longer than that so that people have time to get out.
Well, car show ends
At 4.
about 4-ish.
But
Rides
everything
close.
else ends at 5 and,
Yeah.
you know, give
Till
people a little
6
bit of time.
p.m.,
Yeah.
there you go, 6 p.m. on Sunday night. That's not anything we can pass tonight, but I appreciate just that we have the conversation, because that's getting way out of hand.
I mean, there was more dogs out there this year than I've seen ever before.
Okay, so we're gonna ask Merritt to do some research. And moving on to other police departments. Pretty much gone over those already. Moving on to fire department, activity reports in your packet. Any questions, comments? Anything other for fire department?
Cruise right along. Same old stuff.
Everybody wants to get home before the rain.
Huh?
Everybody wants to get home before the rain.
I think it's already raining.
It's been raining.
Moving on to emergency management,
Nothing new, sir.
okay? Protective inspection.
Okay. You will notice that since our last meeting, we are short on houses. We finally got that ugly looking one at 535 South Allen. That one had been under a demolition permit for about 6 months now. He finally tore it down and he's actually taken out a building permit for a replacement house. Which will be nice.
Very good.
And then Kathleen's house down in the, I think it's probably the 700 block for South Allen, went down over the weekend. So, we're making short progress on that. I haven't issued the permit for Reverend Hartgrove because the gas company hasn't been in to sign off on that disconnect yet. But that should come down too, and he's under the incentive contract for removal there. So, 2000 is down, one to go, and many more to sign.
I talked to Clifford yesterday. I'm gonna try for, can't do it this weekend, but next weekend.
He might be tied up getting trees out of his mother's.
Yes, I heard about that.
Yes, I did hear about that. Saw a picture of it too.
Yes,
And we are now, with Mr. Harmon's permit for the replacement house, we're up to 17 permits for the housing units. That's not bad. Lastly, on the agenda, you will have a whole boatload of ordinances to adopt the new 2012 versions of international building, mechanic, plumbing, and fire codes, and 1 and 2 family dwelling code, and the 2011 version of the electric code.
Is that from Mondays?
That's for Monday.
Excellent.
I spent a lot of time bringing the ordinances up to date, giving them merit, and amazing how that hasn't come back to me yet, so I don't know how many more changes I will have to make from typos he catches. But we are basically, unless it doesn't make any sense to follow what the county has adopted, we will follow what they are inspecting for out in the county. The one thing that they included in their citations for the building code that we have not and are not adopting is the energy code, setting more restrictive park values and things like that than people out here are used to. Doesn't seem to make any sense. And back up under emergency management, you will, I have not received any comments as yet about the main change on the fairgrounds. And on the building code, there will be a public hearing before you start looking at the ordinances.
Okay. Moving on to, is there any other?
No, sir.
Okay. As may arise? Oh, yes.
Just the invitation there from the Friends of the Centralia Battlefield. Way overdue. We're going to try to surprise him with it. But we have a monument in recognition of Richard Moore's donation of the battlefield site. I mean, it's way overdue, but better late than never.
Does he get to pay
Yes.
You're gonna try to surprise you with it.
That's all right.
At some point, you gotta make sure he's in town.
He is.
Let me check out YouTube.
We coordinated this with his nephew, so they're gonna be in town, so he'll be in town.
Great. Thank you. Any other items?
I had one, lot 130, Denton Street. Had a guy that lives to the south complaining about the backyard. Hadn't been mowed all year. It's 3 foot tall.
Where is it? I'll talk to him.
130 Denton.
Time to bail, yeah.
What? Okay. I bet you that that's already had a letter go out on it.
I think it has 130, didn't I? Just
I don't know, the front yard's done, but the backyard ain't.
Okay.
And I thought I saw somebody mowing that
Mhm.
house down on Allen with the Indian
Yes.
people. I thought he was working on it today.
Yeah.
So the mail will cross
Sure.
after it's been, it would be nice.
Someone mowed that one on Reed Street too, I think. There's one on Reed Street, I don't know what the address was.
They didn't bring the packet of what was cited recently, like I'll look into that. I still have to arrange for a tour of facilities for our two new aldermen. If you can agree on a date in the afternoon. At the moment, all our crews are working 6:30 to 3:30 to beat what has proven to be the non-existent heat of summer. So to at least go by the shops, we need to start closer to 2:30 or so. So pick a date and let me know.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? We are now adjourned.